What if I told you that a number of the male celebrities you hold in high esteem have undergone extensive plastic surgery? There was no miscommunication, their appearance was completely transformed by these stars. Their raw, unfiltered beauty was once legendary. However, there is a catch. Although some remained silent, others faced consequences and even received unexpected feedback from friends. Curious about their identity? Stay tuned because you won't believe which famous people made the cut for plastic surgery. 1. Kenny Rogers. As a country music icon, Kenny Rogers was instantly recognizable by his charming personality and striking good looks. Back when he was younger, he decided to get plastic surgery and gave it a lot of thought. Rogers spoke candidly with CBS Morning News in 2012. He shared his story in a way that deepened their affection for him, the kind of people who, when they examine their reflection, ask, "What if?" Even though he couldn't change anything, Rogers shared this view. Particularly since it concerned his eyes, the operation was the topic of much discussion. Things didn't work out the way Rogers expected. Even though he saw a top doctor in the region, the doctor had an idea of where Kenny's eye corners should be, but the end result wasn't what he was hoping for. Because Rogers was forthright about his feelings of shame and the fact that he will never know his true age, his story is highly relevant. Since he was forthright with his admirers, they remembered why they had such strong feelings for him. 2. Gene Simmons. The Kiss bassist, Gene Simmons, known for his irreverent tongue, spoke frankly about his plastic surgery journey in 2007. He made no effort to conceal it, even though it would have been challenging for someone of his fame. The reality show Gene Simmons' Family Jewels became a must-watch instead, and he turned his facelift into that. Who knew that the man who spit fire and wore dramatic face paint would be so open about something so personal? Keeping the same broad perspective he applies to all of his work is what makes Gene's story so intriguing. Despite his reputation for swaggering around the stage, this rock star admitted that he felt self-conscious about his jowls. He informed his friends about everything that happened, from his initial concerns to the final outcome, rather than keeping it a secret. The idea that plastic surgery is exclusively for women was partially dismantled by Gene's deeds. He proved that regardless of one's occupation or social status, it is normal to desire to feel good about one's appearance. 3. Mickey Rourke. Unlike most Hollywood films about plastic surgery, Mickey Rourke's story was about more than just battling the effects of aging. It was also about fighting. Rourke suffered severe facial injuries while competing as a professional boxer after leaving the acting profession. Things didn't work out the way he had hoped when he had his first plastic surgery to repair scars from his fighting career. He claimed he had multiple surgeries on his face because he saw the wrong doctor about fixing his appearance. Rourke's strength and humor throughout the story are its most moving aspects. After his procedure in 2017, he posted a selfie to Instagram and joked with his doctor about how handsome he looked. He added that he still had one more to complete. Even though his experiences have been difficult and the outcomes have been less than ideal, Rourke has remained as humorous and forthright as ever about them. 4. Howard Stern. In Howard Stern's case, less is more when it comes to his face surgery. The king of radio, renowned for his forthright interviews and outspoken personality, wore an amazingly subtle style. His decision to have rhinoplasty to smooth out a bump on his nose was so astute that few people even noticed. Well, that was just his sister. What this tells you is that he gave some serious consideration to how he could enhance his appearance. Because it contradicts the public's perception of him, Howard's backstory is fascinating. This man took a lot of money to change his appearance in order to be more daring and intriguing, but he went for a subtle change that nobody noticed. The message is clear. Minor adjustments are sometimes all that's needed when it comes to plastic surgery. On occasion, a person's self-esteem can take a significant hit when they make minor adjustments. 5. Simon Cowell. Simon Cowell, who is well known for his forthrightness on American Idol and The X Factor, was similarly forthright when discussing his decision to get plastic surgery. In 2022, he experienced a genuine look-in-the-mirror moment when he understood he might have utilized an excessive amount of face fillers. It's amusing to consider Simon's predicament of having to evaluate his own attractiveness and admit he could have been mistaken after all these years. The deciding factor came when he examined a vintage photo and failed to recognize himself. He was jolted awake by his son Eric's laughter. Simon's story is captivating because of the way he handled the situation. He opted for a more natural appearance after removing all the fillers rather than defend his decisions or attempt to maintain the look. The fact that Simon Cowell learned from his cosmetic faux pas demonstrates that even someone as insecure as he is can be honest about when he decided enough was enough and stopped using fillers. Especially when he recalls his son's reaction, he can laugh about it now. The person known as TV's harshest critic now seems more approachable because of this. 6. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Probably when you think of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, you see a man whose enormous muscles, grin, and seemingly boundless self-assurance come to mind. Everyone can experience self-esteem issues. Even The Rock doubted his appearance. An issue that many men face but don't discuss is gynecomastia, or an excess of breast tissue in men, which he had to manage in 2005. Even though he was one of Hollywood's sexiest men, this was something that intense exercise couldn't resolve. The Rock's narrative hits close to home because it challenges our preconceived notions about self-esteem and body image. He bench-pressed a tiny car, I kid you not, but you get the idea. This aspect of his appearance still made him feel vulnerable. His decision to go through with surgery and announce it to the world demonstrated that being confident in one's body is not a sign of weakness. It's all about doing what makes you happy. His decision to speak about it has taught many other men that they should not be ashamed to seek help when they need it, and that they are not alone in experiencing similar issues. 7. John Stamos. In his autobiography published in 2023, John Stamos, who played Uncle Jesse on Full House, finally revealed all about the exciting adventures we went on thanks to his nose jobs. Just pretend for a second that Stamos was a little kid watching TV. Maybe he noticed something about himself that he didn't like. He settled on rhinoplasty as the procedure to do. Years later, he finally told people what had happened, but for a while he kept it a secret. The intriguing part is this very thing. Even the most alluring Hollywood celebrities deal with self-esteem issues, as John's decision to discuss it publicly demonstrates. Since he is candid about this aspect of his life, fans can empathize with the struggles that even the most beloved celebrities face regarding their appearance. When he first saw himself on television, he had that self-conscious feeling that everyone has. Wait, do I really look like that? He felt that his nose detracted from his acting, and not in a positive way. It's endearing to think that John Stamos, who is so handsome by nature, had self-doubts. The plot thickens now, though, because his initial nose job gave him a Peter Pan-ish appearance. If a person's first nose job isn't to their liking, what options do they have? Naturally, they visit the plastic surgeon who performed surgery on Michael Jackson. Stamos' thought process was amusing and intriguing. Well, if this guy can completely change one of the biggest pop stars in the world, he can probably handle my nose. He tells it like it is, through the highs and lows of the experience, to demonstrate that it's all right to keep trying to achieve your goals, even when the first attempt fails. Additionally, it should be noted that celebrities frequently undergo multiple surgeries in order to achieve their desired appearance, although they may choose not to publicly discuss it. 8. George Clooney. Hollywood's silver fox, George Clooney, has a refreshingly open history of discussing his public aging process. Staying hydrated and getting enough sleep is one way that some celebrities attempt to appear younger than they actually are. In contrast, Clooney was forthright about his decision to get eyelid surgery. An honest statement like this from a man who has been named hottest man alive multiple times is refreshing in an industry where it is common to pretend everything is easy. An intriguing aspect of Clooney's story is the way it reveals the evolving attitudes of Hollywood towards male cosmetic procedures. Check this guy out. He's getting better looking as he gets older. My God, how does he pull that off? However, he isn't bashful about admitting that nature does on occasion require human intervention. He wanted to retain his natural appearance and the iconic Clooney sparkle in his eyes, so he had eyelid surgery to achieve that. He has contributed to shifting the conversation around male cosmetic surgery from one of shame to one of self-care by speaking out about this. It's as though he's saying, hey, if you want to do something about those droopy eyelids, go for it, and you don't have to pretend you got them fixed by drinking green juice. 9. Jeff Lewis. Jeff Lewis's account of his encounter with lip fillers combines cautionary tale elements with comedic sketches. It would be the equivalent of a lip filler that decided to take a little vacation for 20 years on its own. The flipping out star came clean in 2022 about how his doctor had essentially orchestrated a lip intervention. Anyone who has ever regretted a cosmetic decision will find this amusing and relatable. For 20 years, he had been unaware of the composition of these tiny balls of filler that resided in his upper lip. This is both funny and cringeworthy. The fact that his dermatologist essentially told him, no, we're not doing anything else until we deal with these lip squatters, just adds to the charm of this story. In this case, it's about addressing existing cosmetic issues before introducing new ones. It's similar to how your mom makes you eat your veggies before dessert. This story, as told by Jeff on SiriusXM, he was worried he would have to have lip surgery to fix them, but they could simply remove the filler, is a perfect illustration of the evolution of cosmetic procedures. It teaches us that even the most intractable mistakes can be rectified in the end. Avoid putting it off for another 2 decades. 10. Alec Baldwin. Even if they aren't famous actors, many men can relate to Alec Baldwin's experience with hair restoration. It's been fascinating to watch Baldwin cope with his hair loss. A large number of men experience thinning hair. He doesn't put on an act as if his thick mane is purely a genetic trait or attempt to conceal the reality that he's had hair replacement. He has, on the contrary, been unexpectedly forthright about his background. Since he has been famous for so long, people notice and discuss any changes to his appearance, so this is very intriguing. Baldwin's narrative is captivating due to the fact that it encompasses multiple treatments and spans several years. It's not a one-and-done deal. It requires ongoing attention and care. After his missteps, he realized how difficult it can be to maintain a presentable appearance, particularly in the image-obsessed entertainment industry of Hollywood. You are under no obligation to accept hair loss if you do not wish to do so. There are other choices available. This forthrightness from a well-known actor demonstrates that men of all ages can benefit from maintaining a healthy appearance and helps dispel the stigma associated with cosmetic surgery. Yes, it's refreshing to see an A-lister like him acknowledge that we all need a little help from time to look our best. 11. Zahed Ahmed. Pakistani celebrity Zahed Ahmed opened up about his plastic surgery journey in a 2020 YouTube video. It was about a botched nose job that he recounted in it. He was forthright about how, under the intense scrutiny of his colleagues in the entertainment industry, he became fixated on the angle from which his nose appeared. Because he, like many artists, spent so much time in front of the camera, he began to notice physical characteristics that he felt were lacking. Going into the surgery, he reasoned he was being reasonable because, after all, nose jobs are common in Hollywood. However, his experience would unfold in a manner he hadn't anticipated. An invaluable life lesson was imparted to Zahed following his operation. Whether it was due to issues with the healing process or, more importantly, his spiritual belief that God disapproved of his decision, the outcomes were less than satisfactory. He sincerely told his fans to think about plastic surgery 10,000 times before deciding to have the procedure done. His perspective shifted substantially as a result of this encounter. He shifted his attention from dwelling on his shortcomings to valuing his strengths. Zahad was satisfied despite the change in his nose's appearance because his job was continuing well and he maintained his composure throughout. 12. Joe Jonas. A number of Joe Jonas's singles with the Jonas Brothers were huge hits that sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry sector by publicly discussing his usage of Zomamen injectables. Since his days in a boy band, discussions surrounding male beauty standards have evolved, as evidenced by his decision to undergo plastic surgery to correct creases and a scar on his forehead. While many famous people choose to keep their cosmetic procedures under wraps, Joe chose to be forthright about them. He mentioned how they assisted him in maintaining his appearance for public appearances and shows. Looking further into Joe's cosmetic journey reveals the complex interplay between his personal style preferences and the demands of the film industry. Growing up in the spotlight meant that Joe was constantly the target of superficial criticism. Not out of any sense of social pressure, but rather self-awareness, he opted to inject himself. Through his public discussions about cosmetic procedures, he has contributed to their increased prevalence among men in the entertainment industry. 13. Cheyenne Jackson. A peculiarity pervaded Cheyenne Jackson's thinning hair. It began when he was barely 22 years old. Because of the damage it did to his self-esteem and career prospects, this was devastating for a young actor whose star was rising in the theater and television industries. As a result of his fearless and determined response to this obstacle, he underwent 5 hair transplant procedures by the time he was 28 years old. As he dealt with the emotional fallout of premature hair loss, each treatment served as a stepping stone toward his goal of maintaining his attractive appearance. His history of hair restoration procedures exemplifies the perseverance and persistence required to achieve desired results. The emotional toll of Cheyenne's hair loss and multiple surgeries extends far beyond her own selfish needs. Because his career as a performer depends in part on his appearance, he felt additional pressure to maintain a youthful appearance. In addition to seeking out cosmetic enhancements, he opted for a battery of treatments to help him feel confident in his own skin and continue juggling multiple roles. 14. Charlie Sheen. Charlie Sheen has taken a step toward a more attractive appearance by undergoing CeraLift, a non-invasive alternative to traditional face rejuvenation surgery. There is a rising movement toward less invasive treatments that nevertheless produce desirable results and have a short recovery time, and this procedure fits into that category. The no-scar technique was ideal for Sheen because he frequently needs to alter his appearance for different parts. Unlike with conventional surgery, he didn't end up with visible scars after he improved his appearance. The evolution of beauty standards is illustrated by Sheen's encounter with CeraLift. To maintain their appearance, actors used to have to resort to more costly cosmetic procedures. Their results are now more in line with nature thanks to newer options. The film industry has embraced these fresh concepts and now demands that actors maintain their appearance. Sheen's decision to use this contemporary method exemplifies how technology is influencing the beauty routines of celebrities by allowing them to achieve more subtle and undetectable transformation. 15. Reed Ewing. Reed Ewing's complex relationship with body dysmorphia and plastic surgery was detailed in a powerful 2015 HuffPost article. The Modern Family actor began seeing 4 separate plastic surgeons for procedures beginning at the tender age of 19. Chin and cheek implants were among his procedures. Every time he had surgery to achieve his ideal body shape, his self-esteem plummeted. His experiences highlight the mental aspect of cosmetic surgery and the significance of addressing issues with self-perception before undergoing any kind of physical transformation. A lot of young Hollywood stars struggle with body image issues, and Ewing's multiple surgeries reveal that she has a more serious problem with her appearance. He was so intent on getting the result he wanted that he visited more than one surgeon, despite the fact that complications arose after each procedure. He raised awareness of body dysmorphic disorder in the entertainment industry by sharing his experience, which is particularly prevalent among young male performers who may feel pressure to conform to specific beauty standards.